welcome to the StephUp podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Ann Webb. And on the episode today, I have my friend Angie. Hi, Angie.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks again for letting me join your podcast. It's a real honor.
Thank you for coming on. I met you on Facebook and we we couldn't figure out which Facebook group it was. I was like, I just know you've been there and I see your posts and I just I connect with them so much. And I'm like, oh, I think Angie would be great to have a conversation with. It's actually the first time you
Thanks.
and I are actually talking in person or not in person, but online.
Yeah, this is really cool.
So I wanted to we were going to talk about our experiences about people pleasing and people disrespecting our boundaries and how we're setting forward healthier boundaries. And I know that
Mhm.
you were you were coming up and thinking of things to share with regards to that. When
hmm
have you been a people pleaser since you can remember?
Yeah, I've kind of like been conditioned to be a people pleaser because I grew up in a unhealthy family dynamic. Pretty textbook case, honestly. It's not in any way real unique. I'm just kind of, when you're raised in dysfunction, you're conditioned to sacrifice your needs and comfort in order to cater to the most toxic family member. In my case, that's my dad. I grew up in kind of like a textbook narcissistic family dynamic with my dad being the nurse, my mom being the enabler, my half sister being the scapegoat, and me actually playing both the scapegoat and the golden child because I played both because my sister was sent away to live with her mother after my mom couldn't handle her and her dysfunction. And it's just like she was blamed for a lot. She had like autism and acted out a lot and a lot of trauma there.
Yeah,
But that being said, if you're conditioned to be a people pleaser from the age of 8, boundaries are kind of like a foreign concept.
that's so true. And do you identify as an empath or a highly sensitive person? Like, do you know which one?
I identify as both. I've been kind of thinking I might be on the spectrum, considering some of my sensory issues.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've been playing with that idea. I'm still not completely certain, but it does answer a lot of questions. I struggle with misophonia. Do you know what misophonia is?
I have that. Yes. Can you
Really?
explain it to the those who don't know?
Misophonia is basically a nervous system disorder. When you hear these certain trigger noises, you can go into like rage or panic. And it's like, I don't wish this kind of hell on my worst enemy, honestly.
I always thought it was misophonia. Have I been saying it wrong this whole time?
Yeah, I think it's Latin for hatred of sound.
Oh
The
my goodness.
misophonia, and there's another one, hatred of motion.
Hmm. Okay, there was
I
a
forget
time
the
when
term.
I lived in Toronto and I went a few times to the opera, which the seats were so like remember the movie theaters in the olden days in the 80s and 90s? It was even worse than that. And so you were crammed in this seats and the guy beside me, his nose was whistling.
Oh
And
God.
I couldn't I just wanted to punch him in the face. I'm like, I hate this guy, like literal hatred. And I had to
That's
leave halfway because I'm like, I can't. And I didn't care if I didn't see the rest of it. So
my God.
yeah. And
Yeah, it's awful.
people the way people chew,
hmm
it's hard to that's where a lot of deep breathing and mindfulness comes in because they're just like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you and I are pretty similar in that. But I feel
My
like,
biggest oh sorry,
oh, go ahead.
go. I'm just saying my biggest miso trigger is bass. When cars go by and they're throbbing that bass, and it's like I basically want to smash my hand through the window and actually have done that.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I actually, oh, motorcycles and loud cars. One of my neighbors, he's young
Mhm.
and he made his car have a muffler. I don't know. I said, why? Why did you want to make it louder? He goes, Because it's cool. I said, oh, I mean, they don't understand that that's really annoying to somebody like me, right?
Right. It has to do with like what I've read is that a lot of people with dark triad personality traits like to make themselves loud so that the world hears them coming. So they weren't loved enough as children, so they have to make sure the whole world sees them coming.
Mm, yeah.
It's kind of
I've
sad, really.
I've read a bit about that too. I was like, I don't know, he's a nice guy, but you never know, right? You never know what's going on with people. Um, so the thing you were mentioning about was it you started to people please because you wanted everyone else around you to feel better because you noticed that they were angry, upset, struggling, and was that something that might have come up for you?
I people pleased in order to like be accepted because if I know I didn't treat people a certain way, they would reject me. And with neurodivergence, that comes with the rejection of sensitive dysphoria. And if you upset them because you don't treat them the way they want to be treated or what they expect from you, and it's like they're going to reject you. And that's, I guess, my mentality behind my people pleasing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that as well. Um, it's interesting how, well, for me as well, I grew up also quite religious. And so
Hmm.
there was this aspect of um I had to be the good girl, so God will be happy
Right.
with me. So there's the people pleasing of the people around me. Yes, I need you to like me and accept me. And also, God, I don't want to upset God. Do you feel like as a
Weaponized religion.
sorry?
Weaponized religion.
Yes. Do you feel like women also tend to be more people pleasers? Like, I don't know the statistics or anything, but in my experience, it's women as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially with men, because we're often like preyed upon, I feel. And it's just like, especially if you're a highly sensitive, kind, and an attractive woman, you're gonna get a lot of unwanted attention.
Yeah.
Which brings me to one of my examples of one of the people I had to cut off. It's a gentleman I worked with. We connected. Um, I liked him because he made me feel, I'm going to call him Lucian because I'm not going to use the real names to protect the names and everything. I like the name Lucian. It sounds dark wizardy anyway. Yeah, this is when I started working at our local farm and feed store. Made me feel very welcome, was very accommodating, and introduced me to all of the coworkers, taught me some stuff on the register, tried to teach me how to do pick lists. And I liked him because he was deep and interesting and intelligent. And he was a Scorpio. Yeah, tend to be attracted to people who are deep and intelligent. And I started to feel uncomfortable when he would make unnecessary commentary. Like he would go, "I miss you," because I friended him on Facebook and we started talking in like Messenger and stuff. And he's like, and I'm like, why? And he's like, well, it's been a while since I've seen your beautiful face. And then I start typing, and then all of a sudden he jumps on that. It's like, oh, I made her uncomfortable. So I'm going to try to manipulate my way out of this. So he tries to give me this spiel about how he talks that way to his actual sister. He saw me as his work sister, and that's what he called me. But I'm like, regardless of the way you speak to your sister, just going off of the excuse he gave me, I don't want to be spoken to that way. It makes me very uncomfortable. I don't want you hitting on me. It's like I am married. That's not appropriate.
Right.
And I just want to be seen as a person and valued as a person, not an object of desire. You know? And it took a lot out of me to express that boundary because I know I was probably going to upset him and drive him away. And yeah, that's when he gave me that excuse and I expressed that boundary only for him to do it again.
Oh.
It's like he, yeah, it's like he dog whistled me. I don't know if you're familiar with the term dog whistling. It's when people with dark triad personality types say something that they know only you can hear and they know it's going to upset you just to get a rise out of you. And I was putting stuff on top stock. And I was putting these bird houses and bird feed on top stock, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, beautiful." And I like my neck hair just rises up, and that little guitar string in the back of my chest goes ding. It's like that's how I feel when I'm triggered. And
Mm.
I'm like, please don't call me that. And he comes up to me later and says, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you." And it's like, yeah, you did. Anyway, it's very difficult to talk about.
So how do you still did you still have to continue to work with him, or were you able to say I don't want to work with him
I
anymore? Or
did. I had to work with him. Later that day, he like made it worse. He could see my discomfort, and he confided in me later that day that he had accidentally flirted with another one of our coworkers. And it's like, okay, you gonna go make another girl uncomfortable and you're coming to me for validation? Are you stupid?
Mhm.
And it's like I got mad at him, and I'm sort of like, yeah, I can't trust you. And it's like, why are you just focusing on my looks? It's like, don't you value me as a person? It's like, is my friendship some kind of consolation prize for you not being able to pursue me? And it's like, I can't trust you, so I can't be your friend. And I blocked him.
Mm. Yeah. It's it's really challenging, especially when I know a lot of men grow up a certain way and they don't understand. They're told that they should talk like this. They see this in the movies and whatnot. And I know it can be confusing for them, but what they don't a lot of times may not even try to understand is how women feel. Like you said, I am
Mm-hmm.
just a person. Treat me like a person. Don't you don't need to treat me like, hey, beautiful. Just like, hey, Angie. Right?
I liked it when he called me sister. I thought that was sweet and wholesome, considering I really didn't have a brother figure full or a healthy male role model at all growing up.
Mm. Was that quite recently, or was that a because it's still a little
It
bit
was a couple months. It was months ago. He has recently moved stores. He got a girlfriend and moved up north to be closer to her. And it's just all this sort of. He
mm.
did not take it well. It's like he brooded and just brewed in his contempt, and I could hear him muttering stuff to my other coworkers and was watching me like a hawk, watching me, waiting for me to screw up so he can pounce and freaking sabotage me. And it's just like they all love me there, so it's not gonna. Your smear campaign's not gonna work.
Mm. That takes courage what you did, because for those of us who grew up people pleasing, it can be hard to stand up for ourselves, to set those boundaries, right? And
Mm-hmm.
have you been able, like, when did you start first recognizing that you needed to stand up for yourself, or set boundaries? Like, is it more recent, or was it maybe when you were a bit younger? Because our all of our journeys are so different in that regard.
Um, just recently because I'm tired. I have a job that takes a lot out of me. I have a child that's possibly neurodivergent as well, and I'm just tired and I have to protect my energy the best of my ability. And with these people that are just going to disrespect me and violate my boundaries and just need so much from me. And then that gets me to my second example. I'll call her Lorelai. Um, I had to place boundaries with her because she um is it okay if I get into the second example?
Yeah.
Okay. Um we were friends for a good decade or so. We met in college and we bonded over similar illnesses and struggles. And basically, I identified as an empath and she identified as an empath. And her family dynamic was very similar to mine. Um, but she refused to look into the possibility that her parents may have damaged her
Okay.
because she was too busy trying to make excuses for them. They're not bad people. And it's like, I'm not trying to say they're bad people. I'm saying that they hurt you and they need to be held accountable. And she had this pattern of pursuing emotionally unavailable partners because she was raised on the love must be earned philosophy because she had a very authoritarian family dynamic because like her parents were strict conservative Christian parents with possible with personality disorders themselves. At
Mm,
least that's what I saw. I mean,
wow.
her dad likened her to a dementor, and I was like, how cruel can you be? And they would gaslight her in front of her therapist, and so like, and she's still pedestaling them because they're meeting her needs in some way. It's the cognitive dissonance that goes along with a very unhealthy family dynamic. And I tried gently to show this to her, and she was just too busy annoying. She was just too busy avoiding it. I can't speak. Sorry.
It's okay.
Um, and anyway, I kind of was her rock. I was constantly uplifting, validating, and regulating her. Plus, she had a very difficult time being alone for very long. And I was reaching burnout because my job was becoming more demanding. My child was becoming more demanding. And it was like a lot of my energy was going towards her and her issues. So I began to place boundaries and I didn't respond as much when she reached out. And I knew that was going to set her off because she has the abandonment trigger. But I was trying to tell her that it wasn't anything that she was doing. It was just me because I needed space and I just stopped responding to all of the stuff whenever she would like she wouldn't exactly express why she was upset, but I knew she was upset. She was like, hi, very short. Like it's like I have all this stuff that I need to get out and you need to regulate me, blah, blah, blah. And she wouldn't say that, but that was the expectation placed upon me. And she texted me one day dysregulated. She was in a similar situation to one she had months prior, where her sister, or she calls her sister, it's actually a very close family friend that was kind of raised by her parents, introduced her to this man, and she was trying to get to know this man, and it was very sketchy as to who this man was, where he was from, and how he knew her sister, and she wasn't getting straight answers, and it was just very sketchy. And she eventually ended that dynamic with that person, only to be introduced to another guy by her sister, like literal months after. And I'm just like, I just don't want to hear it because when she's in a relationship and they don't respond to her in a timely manner, she gets anxious and she gets in her feelings and she attacks herself. And it's like, you got to regulate her. And it's like, I know this is quiet borderline and it's hell for people, but I'm tired of people being people's medicine. It's like they got to learn to regulate themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not
Anyway.
that's the hard thing for being a people pleaser because like I was mentioning before, um at least for me it was like I don't like seeing people in pain, or maybe that's more an HSP
Mhm.
thing. But after a while, like I would absorb everyone else's problems and everyone else's energy.
Yeah,
And then I
exactly.
was always a mess. And I was like, oh, I feel so bad for so and so. And what I realized was I was attracting all those kind of people because they knew that they could zap onto me and get what
Mm-hmm.
they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I was learning about, wait, I can set better boundaries, and it's been taking me years to even get to a healthier place. But it would kind of like I would just distance myself from people and then they'd get mad at me. But like I knew I had to. But then it wouldn't go well because we'd kind of fight, or I would just try to like ignore them if I could. Um, but yeah, then I
Glad I'm not the
realized,
only one.
I know. Then I realized, okay, you can be there for people without having to take on so much, and it's their own journey. Just like I had to go
Mm-hmm.
on my own journey and people would leave me or they'd be distant or we're all trying to find our own way and that's our work. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's hard, right? When we want other people to feel better or to just get it or to just then we can't. Is that kind of like you got to a point where you just realized for my safety I have to.
You gotta protect your energy at all costs because they're just gonna want more and more, and then it's like there's only so much you can give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that example, and we all use it. I hear every, but the first time I heard it, it was just fascinating to me because I didn't really think about it. But when you're in the airplane and they say put on your mask first,
Yeah.
I used to think, what? You're supposed to help the person beside you, but then they're like, no, because if you start passing out, you're not any good to
Can't
anyone
help.
else.
Right.
And that's just such a great example because it's so true, right? For
Mhm.
we can't take on everyone else's problems and just that will weaken us. And so,
Right. And I also, oh, sorry, God.
oh, I was gonna say it's very courageous and brave and powerful of you to recognize that and do the best for you and your family.
Thanks. I ultimately had to block her because, like I said, she came at me. She was dysregulated, and I've been following this woman online. I don't know if you've heard of Lori Wheeler. She's
Possibly.
the Boundary Lady.
I
Found
know
her.
the
I found her
name.
on yeah. She's very assertive and very no nonsense about placing boundaries needed to protect our energy. And she's an April 28th Taurus. Yeah. So I relate to her quite strongly. And I was enforcing one of the things that I learned from her and elsewhere that I just wanted her to ask. I asked very politely that if she would ask permission before she started sharing her emotions with me, and then she got upset by that. She got very angry. She got all up in her feelings. She basically hooded up. She just started talking to me like she was a thug gangster and that I was some kind of demon spawn.
Wow.
Yeah, and and she's like she got angry. She told me until further notice she wasn't going to share her life with me anymore. And impulsively, it's like she was abandoning me, so I blocked her. And then she came back in my messages, my text messages, and said, "You don't have to block me. We're adults." And then she started oh, excuse me, my
That's okay.
language. She started complaining about my boundaries and how she had other friends and that they didn't have any boundaries. That's not healthy. That's not healthy.
Mm,
And it's like, okay, you're basically complaining about my boundaries because you think you're entitled to my energy. This is more about you than it does about me. And it's just like, yeah. And she's calling me fragile and that I need help and that I have demons. And I'm like, I know, I know, I know. And I tell her that she tends to pedestal and idealize people that meet her needs. And she gets really offended, like I said some ungodly thing. And it's like, what? She's like, wow.
mm.
And she told me I should basically go drink myself to oblivion and go harm myself. And I'm like, yeah, that's disrespectful. I wished her well and blocked her, definitely.
That's powerful to be able to wish somebody well, right? Because because you're putting out this like I'm sending you love type of energy and yet doing the best for you. And I think that's beautiful because it's, somebody could so we could so easily say, well, F you and blah blah blah. But to say I wish you well and then do what you have to do and block her, that's very
Yeah, she
powerful.
disrespected me and was like, you just made this kind of easy for me. Thanks. I wish you the best in life. Bye.
Yeah.
Kind of cold on my end, and I live with the guilt of doing that for the rest of my life. That's my karma because no matter which way you skin a cat, don't necessarily like that phrase but I did break my promise about not abandoning her, but she was like basically telling me to go harm myself, and that was kind of a deal breaker to me.
Mm,
Anyway, yeah, I don't need that in my life.
no. And we can't keep those promises because, like, yeah, if that, like, it sounded like she was probably sounds like she has religious trauma. And um, she was putting on to you her issues. So you had to, I don't even see that as a broken promise because a friendship is like both ways. And so,
Yeah, she was telling me that I didn't know what friendship means. Like I don't know what friendship means just because I'm not meeting your needs at this time. That it's like, I'm like, we used to have no boundaries. We used to have a very unhealthy dynamic and we would dump on each other. And yeah, and then I came across the Lori Wheeler and other boundary sites and just like we need to protect our energy. And I found myself feeling very bogged down by these dynamics that I would have to experience with her. And it's just like, I want to choose growth,
mm,
not stagnancy. It's like I'm identified the parts I've played in my past, and she weaponized my past against me by saying try to use my past against me to label me a hypocrite. And it's like, um, how does that even work? I grew. I'm identifying my part in my stuff. And it's just like, and you're trying to use that to tell me that I'm a hypocrite and weaponize my past against me. And it's like, that's kind of a cheap shot.
yeah.
So,
So did
yeah,
you
not a
have
very
what kind of tools did you start? Like when were you aware of the people pleasing? Like was it something that were you
good
learning
question.
on your own and seeking out growth, or was it something like happened in your life that just prompted, or do you know?
I don't know. I just was kind of a Facebook addict and going down a lot of rabbit holes and started doing, the whole shadow work thing and trying to identify what the heck is wrong with me because it's a lot. It's like I have a lot of illnesses and a lot of trauma. And I'm just trying to figure out where they all come from. And it's like where the people pleaser dynamic comes from. And it's like I was one of those kids that was always called too sensitive for not being able to just suck up the abuse from my dad. My
Right.
mom would call me too sensitive because I couldn't stand idly by and just be verbally, emotionally abused. And it's like, yeah, there's something not right here. And it's like, I'm not a bad person for feeling as deeply as I do. And it's like, I was invalidated all my life.
Mm, yeah.
Did
So
you experience similar being invalidated, being called too sensitive?
yes, all the time. I cried a lot at moments other people think are silly, like a movie, romantic comedy, romantic movie, whatever, Hallmark commercial. Like I would remember that commercial, the IKEA, where there is a lamp and they were throwing out the lamp and it was on the street and it looked sad. And then the IKEA voice guy was like, "Are you feeling sorry for this lamp? Don't. It doesn't have feelings." But I did. I felt sorry for the lamp. And so I thought there was something wrong with me because why am I crying?
What?
And people would make fun of me for it.
It's adorable.
I feel sorry for inanimate objects at times because I'm like, that poor thing hasn't been used in a while. It must feel sad. But yeah, I found out about being highly sensitive in my 30s, and it just
Really?
completely helped me because I thought what I was asked, what is wrong with me? People would ask, what is wrong with you? And you know when sirens go by or there's a lot of noise, I was like covering my ears. Oh, it's too
Same.
loud.
Same.
Yeah. And I lived in Toronto and it was always loud. Ugh. And
Oh,
by people, what's wrong with you, Steph? I don't know what's wrong with me. So, and then, there's nothing wrong with us. We just don't know how to deal with what's going on, right? Or the traumas in our background. We don't know. I
Hmm.
never knew until I knew. And that's why awareness is so key because then you can start, okay, that's why this affects me. That's why this triggers me. That's why, okay.
Hmm.
It was so powerful. I love it. I was so happy when I finally started. That's why I wanted to study psychology. I want to know what's going on. Why am I like the way I am?
Right.
Did you feel that certain pull to learn? You just wanted to understand?
Yeah. Shadow work. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
Were
exciting.
were you bullied a lot for your sensitivities growing up? I know you were telling me that people were to ask what's wrong with you. That seems kind of bullying behavior.
I was bullied a lot for, well, I was the chubby little girl. I was mostly bullied for my weight. Um, but yeah, being shy, insecure, sensitive, it was always what's wrong with you?
I'm
Um,
sorry.
that's okay. And I know this sounds, when people are going through it, it doesn't sound very helpful. I used to go like, how can that, how can you be grateful for that? But coming through a lot of it, I'm grateful for it
Hmm.
because it allows me to understand those people. It allows me to help out and say, like, for people who are like, well, what's wrong with blah, blah, blah. I now know because I've been through it,
Hmm.
you know? And so I'm grateful for all those experiences now, not back then. Do you find that like you're able to maybe be sort of a an advocate for people who have
Yeah,
gone
that's the word I was going to yeah, advocate. Yeah. My bullies were so bad, they would literally yell in my ears to trigger me because I wouldn't like it when the big trucks would go by and they'd do this thing and make them honk, and I'd be like basically traumatized. And they thought that was funny. They thought I was a toy and liked to make me squeak and yell in my ears.
oh,
I had bad bullies.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But it's just yeah, not
I'm
fun.
sorry. I'm sorry that you've had that and it's yeah. But that's where and I love that we talk. I mean, some people hate empathy or they don't understand it or I don't know what goes on when people say things about it. But I'm so passionate about empathy
Hmm.
because man, if you and this is where we get stuck because well, I haven't been through that. Okay. That's great, but you're not that person. You don't know what they're
Right.
experiencing, right? So,
People that struggle with empathy can't really see from that person's perspective, can't put themselves in their shoes.
mhm.
It's like, and I hate the dynamic where people think that since they've gone through so much worse, your trauma is invalid. And it's like, that was a lot of mentality my dad holds. And it's like, he was abused maliciously by his very vindictive mother growing up. And it's like nothing I ever went through ever held a candle to that. So I was invalidated continuously as a child for just, being sensitive and feeling and being hurt. And it's just like, oh, I've been so through so much worse. It's like, you should be grateful, blah, blah, blah. Getting shamed and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
That happens a lot. I remember I got the well at least dad doesn't abuse us. Well, it was a lot of emotional like psychological stuff. It wasn't, anything else. So, but it was like, well, at least he didn't physically or anything else abuse you. Um but you're right, like that invalidates what you've been through. And so I used to think, well, it was the first time when I was at university and I was studying psychology. And I remember there's a guy there who had been through, he came from Africa and just hearing his story of coming to Canada and all this. And I was like, oh, wow. he had so much harder experience than I did. And I was saying to this to another psychology student, she said, yeah, but that doesn't take away from what you're experiencing. And that was the first time I felt validated. Like I can go through hard stuff too, even though it wasn't as
Mm-hmm.
hard as his experience.
Right. Your struggle is valid.
That was in my 30s, the first time anyone ever said that. Like, isn't that crazy? And now we know that.
Wow.
Like, I'm so grateful because when somebody says that, I'm like, what you're experiencing is what you're experiencing, and that's hard for you. That's okay too. Like it's actually I remember hearing because people make fun of teenagers when they're in love, right? And they're like, "Oh, it's puppy love. Oh, you're not, that's not your true love." And they kind of poo-poo it if their heart gets broken. But that they're hurt. They're
Yeah, it's still
legitimately feeling heartbreak. So even though yes, that wasn't probably wasn't the love of your life, and you're gonna have you're gonna move on to other relationships, but don't invalidate that experience of their heartbreak because they're 16 years old and they're
right.
experiencing all this and they're emotional and like it's okay because a lot of
Yeah,
it.
neurodivergent teenagers especially, it's like they're subject to this thing called limerence. I
Oh,
recently learned what limerence is. It's like this obsessive infatuation over a person, of an object of your desire, is not necessarily reciprocated. And it's like I went through that hardcore when I was in high school, and nobody ever told me what limerence was. And sorry, I used his real name. Let's call him Pallet. You can edit that out.
I've never heard of this limerence. Is this isn't a newer term?
Limerence. It's been around a while. It's like it's very common in people with ADHD and autism.
That makes so much sense. Okay. Can there be an experience of love bombing then with like more so? Like would that also include love bombing maybe, limerence? Or no?
Yeah, love bombing, it's like it can be a narcissistic individual who's trying to love bomb you. It can also be a very hyper focused neurodivergent who's trying to love bomb you. It's like I've love bombed people, and I don't think it's because I'm narcissistic per se. It's because I'm like just very focused on them. And it's like, please love me. I'm worth it. And it's like part of my love language is gift giving and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to
And
prove my worth by
that's a very important understanding what you just said because people can automatically say, oh, they're a narcissist, but we don't know what's really going on and people are struggling. And so, like you're saying, I've done that too to people, or I've been like so hyper focused and kind of, when I was younger, a guy said I stalked him. He said this to a coworker, and I was like, I didn't stalk him, but then because I liked him so much that I was always
oh,
like calling him and like picking him up for a ride and stuff. And then I found out he thought I was stalking him. And I was like, oh, I didn't really realize what that was. Uh, but
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's
That's
okay. It
kind of
was an experience. I learned, okay, don't do that.
crappy accusation just for somebody that like likes you and like enjoys your energy. It's like, God.
Yeah. And I really didn't like call him that often, but I I don't know. To me it wasn't stalking, but I guess or I think he maybe said it in a joking way, but then coworker said it.
Even as a joke, they're probably serious because people that like want to make those kind of accusations of you and want to pass it off as a joke. My coworker, oh my God, it seemed like he was pushing boundaries and trying to see how close he could get to me, and pass it off as a joke. Like I was talking to him, and he's like, "What you up to?" And I'm just like hanging out at my house, eating my dinner, and I'm by myself. And he's like, "I should come over," and I'm like, "No." And
Oh,
he's like, "Joking." No, you're not joking.
yeah. Wow.
Manipulative.
Oh boy. And and yet we're learning through each experience. We're growing a little bit each time, right? And it's exciting every time we're able to set a healthier boundary. Like I did it,
Right.
right?
Yeah. It's hard to make friends though. I mean, like it's really hard to connect with people and it's like them not to like take advantage of you. It's really difficult. But I'd rather be alone than with people that don't value my energy. So
Yeah. Well, Angie, this was really fun chatting with you. I was just wondering, and you don't have to if there's nothing that comes to mind, but is there anything you'd like to add or like to leave the listeners with to
mm,
share?
well, there's something I saw on Facebook that I'm going to rehash. It's like always listen to your intuition. It's your biggest guide. It's your biggest fan. It's like you don't have to explain it to anybody. It's like that post that you liked.
Yes.
When your intuition is screaming in your face, please don't deny it. Cut these people off before they do significant damage or
Mm,
boundaries. Or if they don't mind your boundaries, cut them off.
yeah. If you if you have to, yeah. I mean, some people are able to not. It's really hard, but like I've had people say to me, "Oh, I never delete anybody off Facebook or I just don't." And I'm like, "Well, for me, I had to because I was not in that place where I was able to keep them on there." So everyone is different, and some people we have to block.
Mm-hmm.
Some people it's like, "Okay, I can still deal with this." It really all depends, but like you're saying, trust that intuition that's like what you need for your safety, for your best interest. That's very good, very helpful. And so you said people can, if they want to reach out to you on Facebook, how can they find you?
Um, well, Angie Dykhuis, and I have a picture of me in a red cloak.
It's a very pretty cloak. I was like, oh, I want one.
Thank you.
Well, it was lovely chatting with you, Angie. I really appreciate your time and energy and sharing and being vulnerable. It's very powerful,
Thank you.
and I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very flattered. And it's like I was like basically jumping out of my skin when you asked me to do this. It was awesome. I'm like, oh my God, really?
Awesome.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Sending love to you all. Bye.